Welcome, everybody, to this week's Business Project Podcast.
Woo-hoo.
Woohoo! We have our first guest. We are so excited to introduce you guys to Adam. He is going to be here to talk us through websites.
This is going to be great.
Every business needs a website. Your Facebook page,
sure.
no, is not your website, and we're going to find out why. Let's get into it.
Yes, let's go.
The Business Project Podcast.
Business can be complicated.
We break it down so regular people like us
Can understand and find success. I'm John Crespo, accountant and consultant.
I'm Casey Bryant, marketer and event planner.
If you run a business
or want to run a business,
welcome to the show. And we're back. Thank you so much for watching us again and following along with us. This is a great topic. It's as we mentioned in the intro, it's a website. Everyone needs it. And there's multiple ways to go about creating one, but we're going to go about the right way.
The right way. Start from the right way.
You got to start from the right way. If you don't start right, then you got to go back and it ends up being more expensive.
Yes. And speaking of the right way, should we welcome our guest today, Adam Wright?
We should. Look at that. What a segue.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
How's it going? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Adam is an amazing guy, and I know that because he helps us with all of our website stuff.
Yes.
He's the one. I know how to do the basics, like all the templated websites, which we're going to get into, and I started with those, and then I'm like, no, I need more, and we're going to ask Adam why we need more and just learn about the ins and outs of websites and what different businesses should be using for different platforms and why you need to pay for a website, why we pay for a website, and why Adam is one of the most important people in my life, because without him, my business would go.
Yes. I think it's amazing. Adam, thank you so much. I'm so excited to just get into your head and really get into the life of why we need a professional when it comes to building a website, because you can tell the difference between a business owner who did it himself or herself and a business owner who went the right way and got a professional to help them out on their website. I'm so excited here because I have a lot to learn as well.
Yeah. So Adam, why don't you start by introducing yourself and your business?
Yes, thank you. So as I said, my name's Adam and my business is Adam Wright Design. I've actually been doing this for 10 years now. This year marks 10 years. So do website design and development and graphic design. So come at it from both aspects. You know, I originally have a design background, grew into love for web and coding. And so just have merged the both and yeah, love all sides of it. So it's fun.
Especially if you like it, right? Then
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like you're doing a job. So you're doing something you actually like.
Totally, 100%.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We're really excited to learn from you.
We are.
So tell us a little bit about, I guess all businesses are wondering, a lot of businesses are wondering, one thing that I see businesses struggle with when they start is I don't have a budget. They don't put the budget aside for the website. They put budget into hopefully their logo, and they put it into, whatever product or service they're creating. And they just don't understand the importance of putting a budget aside for a website. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
It's such an important factor. And like, to kind of take a step back, I think that there's nothing wrong with when you're fresh out, just starting a business, right? You're bootstrapped, like just super tight budget, with using something like Squarespace or Wix, right? Those get you're off the ground, get you an online presence quickly and easily. But long-term, to have a successful business and really to cater a website to your audience, and make sure that it speaks to your brand and you can keep building on it and optimize it, right, over the years. Those types of like DIY builders just aren't good, long term. So like I said, starting out, great, that's what they're there for, and to help people get online. So I'm an advocate for WordPress, obviously. Casey, your website, the Business Project website is in WordPress. There's just so much flexibility in, being able to do what you want with it and not be confined to this box that those DIY builders put you in. But, when it comes to being able to set aside a budget, you just have to look at the website as a tool for your business. It really is a sales tool. So it's like investing in an employee. Your website is supposed to be an employee for you, but this one's working for you 24/7. And I guarantee you'd be paying a lot more if you were paying an actual employee for 24/7. So it's just investing in your business and making sure that you're capturing the right audience, you're capturing those leads, and reaching the right people. And then, of course, just really letting your brand live and making sure your website is a representation of your brand. So there's just so many aspects and so many benefits to having your own website and investing in a website that I think a lot of business owners underestimate, in trying to do it themselves.
I love that, and I'm approaching this from a moderately tech savvy kind of point of view. I know how to navigate social media. I know how to navigate online when I'm searching something. I know how to do all of that, and I have an idea of the backgrounds. So when I started my business, I used Wix because I was one of those guys who says, I have some type of experience in here. I can create this website and just, make it work for me. And I quickly realized that you have to today build a website that not only you can view on a computer, but you can view on a cell phone. And, the transition has to look good, because people will lose interest very quickly if your website is just not appealing to them, right? And I realized that very quickly. So coming at this from my perspective, like you said, I think I agree with you there, where it's okay to start with those template sites, but you quickly got to realize if you want to grow your business, if you want to take your business to the next level, then you got to bring on professionals to help you really create the feel and the experience that you want your customers and clients when they're searching you to experience on the technology wise, website wise. So
right,
that's where you come in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Adam, a lot of people might not have any idea what we're talking about when we say Wix or Squarespace or what's the one we use? WordPress. So why don't we start off, can you give a brief description of some of the most popular platforms and what they're known for, what the positive or negative is of them?
Sure. Yeah. So good point. Squarespace and Wix are pretty similar, right? They're two competitors in the same avenue. And like I mentioned earlier, they're like DIY builders, right? And what that means is essentially they're an online tool to build your own website using their pre-made templates. And so the customization aspect of it is limited in the sense of like, sure, you could change colors, you could probably change fonts, things like that. But the amount of tools that they provide for building the website is much smaller and more confined. So it's more like drag and drop, just, put something together.
Shopify is another popular one of those too, right?
Yes, you're right. And Shopify is more e-commerce focused. And so if you sell products, right, if you want to make an online store, Shopify is kind of like that online version of a DIY builder. It can get more advanced. I look at Shopify as a step up from Squarespace and Wix, in the sense that there are third-party things and advancements that you could do with Shopify to help, but you are confined a little bit in the design sense of layout and look and feel on what you can do for there. And then WordPress, on the contrary to any of those, is actually open source software. So what that means is It's free to the public. Anyone can download WordPress and use it. And basically what it means is it's like the public, right? Anybody in the world can contribute to WordPress because there's this huge library of plugins and themes. And these are all like puzzle pieces that you can use and on WordPress to change the look of your website, change the functionality of your website, right? Add e-commerce in a store. You could create a form, all kinds of different things. And so the open community creates all these plugins and themes and advancements to WordPress that's constantly keeping it evolved. And so that's what brings WordPress in more of one of the main differences that I look at it is WordPress, you completely own your website and your content, and Squarespace and Wix. I can't exactly speak to Shopify on what their terms are, but Squarespace and Wix, you're actually more so renting your website from them. So you don't own your website when you use those.
I'm going to ruffle some feathers here. So WordPress is like Android, and Wix and all those other ones are like Apple. Because, right, it's open source. You can customize that stuff a lot more. You can really create it your own. I think when you look at Wix and the other ones, they're more cookie cutter. Mm-hmm. You have a little bit of variation, but the template is a template. And WordPress, essentially, when you hire a professional, you have to be pretty creative. I think you have some creative vibes in you there, Adam, that allows you to create these masterpiece websites that just really make an impact. And WordPress allows you to do that, right?
I gotta say, I tried to do WordPress on my own, and it is very complex. And so I think as a business owner, I could have spent time to figure it out, I think, but it would have taken me lots and lots of hours to try to figure it out. And so that's why I brought in Adam, is because he's a professional. He already knows the ins and outs of it. And there's so much to it that it is worth it as a business owner to delegate that type of task.
Yeah.
At least for me, it was.
I have a good question for you now then. All right. So getting with a professional, right? You know how to create the website so that it integrates with the Googles and the search engines properly so that the word gets out better, right? Because isn't that something that's very important when it comes to having a website, is people being able to find you and making sure that it's in the right spot and stuff like that? Like, that's where you can bring that support in, because somebody like me who created my website with Wix, I didn't know that Google plays in when people are actually searching for my website.
Mm-hmm. That's big.
Right. No, that's a great point. And that's what probably a big misconception for new business owners is like, cool, I got a new website up, it's live. Now I'm going to be like front page of Google, and like, why, people are going to find me. And that's not the case. You can't just expect that, visitors are going to find you without even doing anything for that. So yeah, there's a lot of aspects that go into it. I mean, obviously, one of the easiest things that you do, and I always do anytime I publish a new website, is submit it to Google's Search Console. And so essentially what that means is you submit the website, tell Google, hey, I made this new website, it lives at this URL, crawl it so that you recognize it. It crawls all the pages, sees what the website's about, and then begins to show your website in search results. That's not to mean that it's going to be number one on Google tomorrow. That's just telling Google, hey, it exists, check it out, And then ongoing, if you want to be more aggressive and becoming more visible in search results, that's where the search engine optimization comes in, right? And that's when you get into a lot of that real heavy technical stuff with SEO. I'm sorry, I just said SEO. Keywords and writing blogs, and injecting all those keywords throughout your website, making sure it's relevant to what your services you offer, what you do. And so that when people are searching for that on Google, your website comes up for those searches.
That's really good. So I guess, really you can get very much in depth when it comes to your website, and it really depends on your business need, right? Is your business an online business that needs that major online presence where you want people to find you? Is your business more local where you don't need that major online presence, but you want to be searchable? So it's really having a conversation with Adam. You can sit down and determine what's the best avenue to take for my business and the web presence that I need for my business.
And put that into your marketing plan that we talked about yesterday. Because there's so many different ways to market, and there's so many ways that you can spend your money. And even just, like Adam had mentioned, your SEO and keywords, and then there's all the social media stuff that points to your website. There's just so many strategies. And if you're not a professional in that, it could take you a really long time to figure it out and waste a lot of money.
If you figure it out.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to add that what I think is super important and sort of an underestimated aspect to, if you're a local business, right, and you're just serving the local community, right, you're a store or a shop in downtown or something, people are coming to see you, get a Google business profile, because as far as local search goes, that's going to be your best friend. And so set up your Google business profile, claim it. You have to go through this process to verify it. They send you like a postcard in the mail just to verify you're real. And then what you do is you set that up, put in your business information, your phone number, your hours, right? And so when someone goes to Google and then searches, say, pet store near me, right, and you sell dog beds or whatever it might be, the map that appears in Google with all the local places that sell dog beds, hopefully you'll be on that map and people will be able to find you locally. So that's how you get on those types of searches in the Google Maps, is creating those Google business profiles. And so when it comes to local businesses, hands down, that's the number one thing you should do before you even worry about SEO.
Great. That's a great tip.
Yeah, that is huge.
When we get back, I want to ask you more tips, more website tips. What are a couple of things that people should be aware of and focus on as they're just getting started, and then as they're a developed business? So we'll get into that in just a minute.
Yeah. See you soon.
Sounds good.
CFD Services Inc. is your one-stop shop for small business support. We take care of the small stuff so you can take care of what matters most, your clients. Visit our website at cfdservicesinc.com for more information on what we offer and to schedule your free consultation today.
We're back.
We are back.
Yeah. We're going to ask Adam, my question before we went on the break to you were some tips. So let's start with new business. We'll say if you're a new business and you're looking to build a brand new website, what are some tips? And then we'll go into, if you're an existing business and already have a website, how can they make it better? So let's start with the new business.
Funny thing is, before you even touch a website, one of my tips would be start with getting your brand dialed in. And then that means your logo, your color palette, your brand fonts, get those things in place, because you're not going to do yourself any good if you go create a website that doesn't create that cohesive look for your brand. And so really one of the biggest tips is making sure your brand looks good everywhere, right? You want to use the same logo on Facebook, the same logo on your website, the same on your business card. I can't tell you how many times I've seen businesses use different colors, different fonts, and it's like, how do you expect your customers to find and recognize your brand if it's not the same everywhere they see it? So
that's so awesome. Cool that you mentioned that, because we went over that in week 5. Yes. That was our week 5 of our podcast. We talked about defining your message, picking color scheme and fonts, and create logo. And we didn't talk about this beforehand, you guys. So obviously it is a thing that businesses are not aware of, that they need to make sure that it is all cohesive and consistent. So go ahead, Adam. That's great.
Love it.
No, of course. So, I mean, once you have that dialed in, then of course, jumping into your website, use those colors, use those fonts, use your logo. And then just make sure that when you're laying out the website and the design, that it emulates what you do and who you like, what you're about, right? So you don't want to portray something on your website that you're not and off-put people or cause confusion, right? Because nowadays with social media and our attention spans being next to nothing, we have to, make that first impression right away. And if you pretty much can't send a message within a few seconds, someone's going to leave your website. So um, that's really, I guess that essentially means concise messaging, right? Don't cause confusion. Tell them right away what you do, what you're selling, so that they know whether you can help them or not, that what they're looking for.
That's a thing I see a lot is going to websites and they just like try to vomit all of the information right there. And we talk about simple a lot, so keeping it simple, exactly what problem are you solving and how can you solve it from the very beginning.
Yeah, and the consistency piece is very important. You want to make sure that your message, like you were saying, Adam, stays consistent in every aspect of your business and what you want people to feel, like we spoke about in the previous podcast, of when they think of you. So if you've been following along the Business Project podcast, then you're prepared for what we're talking about today, which is great because we're actually hitting those points. So it's all coming together.
Yes, like we said before, and we say every podcast is these are just, we're building the foundation. So all of what we've worked on the past however many weeks we've been going,
Right.
all are a block. They're a block in your foundation and just one at a time, and they all build on each other. So if you guys are just joining us for the first time in this podcast, make sure that you go back and listen to all of the other ones because they're all tying in together really beautifully.
You want to check those boxes.
Yes. They're all stepping stones, right? It's like you can't do step 4 before you do step 3. And you really have to do it in order and make sure you set it up in order to be as successful as possible, because skipping around, doing things out of order isn't going to help you in the long run.
So what are some other tips that you have for us?
Another tip I have is definitely your navigation. So you never want to clutter the navigation too much where it confuses the user and they can't find what they're looking for. And one of the easiest examples is like contact, right? Because there's so many times I personally will visit a website just trying to look for a phone number or an email to contact a business. And there's never anything more frustrating when you can't find that. And it should be one of the easiest things to find. So, putting your contact link in the navigation at the top, or at least in the footer also, right? There's both spots that are at least natural for me. I know it could be different for others. Obviously, I build and work on websites every day, so that's just my methods and where I go to look. But header and footer are always the perfect spots for contact info. You never want to hide that because it could easily lose you a sale, lose you a customer who's trying to reach out, get more info, or even buy something from you.
I agree with that. When I'm navigating websites, I look for that. I want to know how to contact this business. Because I still have some old school inside of me where I want to pick up the phone and call them if I have a question, or I want to know where they're located if I want to go visit them. So having that header and footer piece of a website, I think, is very important. Now, let's say we're going to go into the next set of questions, right? Let's say I'm a business owner like myself. I already have my website. When do you think is a good time to engage a professional? So I built my website myself, and I've been running my business, but for some reason I'm trying to grow or whatever, but when is a good time for me to engage a professional? Right?
Yeah. And why? Why should
And
you
why?
engage a
Yeah.
professional? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think one of the things is being able to analyze what your website is doing for you. So if you've been in business for a while, you built your own website, right? And your website isn't doing anything for you. It's not bringing in leads. People aren't buying anything or reaching out to you. more than likely there's something wrong with your website, right? And so whether that's the copy, whether it's the design, the messaging, there's something that's just not connecting with your end user. They might not be finding you. They're just not, communicating well with what you're putting out there. So I would say those are all clear signs that you need to hire a professional, because what a professional is going to do is bring their expertise to curate a website that knows your audience, can get to know your audience, knows what they're looking for, the messaging that you need to portray, lay out the copy and certain calls to action that will speak to them, and pull in those leads, right? Get people to reach out. There's a reason some of it is so hard to easily miss as an everyday person who's navigating websites, but there's a reason buttons are placed where they're at and they're a certain color or they're outlined. It's because they're trying to engage the user to go to certain places on the website. So more than likely, like you said, John, if you built your own website, those are aspects that you just, admittedly don't have the expertise in when you created it yourself,
Right.
and a professional can come in and create that for you.
So there's so many different web people, I feel like. How do you decide who is a good person to approach to help you with your website?
Yeah, that's a great point. There are a lot of people out there, and much like any industry, right, you get the full gamut of someone who's brand new out of the box and it's self-taught, and then you get a large scale agency, right, with 20 employees. So I think there's multiple things you can look for. I think one is deciding, when you're looking at a few different people, look at their portfolio, look at their past work. Like, does their style and the past work that they've done align with what maybe you have in mind and what your business, what you want yours to look like? And then definitely look at reviews. This can be a little bit tricky because I don't blame a business, someone who's brand new, maybe they do have some expertise and knowledge in it, but they're just a new business, right? So they don't quite have reviews that people can check out. But I think reviews are always a good indication to help, gauge whether this is a legitimate business, whether they do good work, whether they have happy clients, right? And that they've worked with before. And then one of the other things I would say is kind of reverse the roles and interview that web designer in a sense and say, what is your process? Who's the one going to be building my website? Do you have a contract, right? If you go to hire a web designer and they don't have you sign a contract, in my mind, that's a red flag, because that's protecting you and them. So having a contract in place ensures that they're going to do what they're delivering, they're committing to in that contract. And then that you're going to get a website and the deliverables agreed upon. So those are a few things, check out reviews, check the portfolio, make sure their style of work and what they do matches what you're looking for. And then size of the company, if you're looking, I think on a general scope, pricing can correlate with the size of the company, right? So if you're working with an individual versus a large scale agency, the scale of the pricing is probably going to be quite different, right? An agency has a lot more overhead, employees to pay, probably an office building, whereas an individual doesn't quite have that overhead, can charge a lot less. So yeah, those are just a few things I would definitely look for.
I like that you brought up the contract piece, because believe it or not, I was on Reddit last night. I don't know if you guys ever check out Reddit, but there's a thread on small business ownership, where small business owners go in there, they start talking about their issues and things like that. And one person was talking about they engaged a website professional, actually two of them, to build their e-commerce website, and they didn't sign a contract with the first one. So the relationship didn't work out. So they went to the second one. The relationship didn't work out. And somebody came on there and said, did you even sign a contract with these people to see what you were getting, to make sure you were getting something right? And they never did. So the fact that you pointed that out shows the importance of really, when you're vetting the company you want to work with, make sure you have that in place. It's so that you know exactly what the deliverables are and what you're getting from it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That is really good too, because I feel like working with several different web developers and people in different industries, I think sometimes when you start, and I know web design especially, and building a website, they might have different expectations than you have. And I think a lot of businesses that are just starting out building a website really don't know what they need and what they want. But then as you start getting into the nitty gritty of it, they're like, oh, well, can we add this? And they think that it's just like some simple thing to add. But in all reality, Adam's like, dude, that is 2 weeks worth of work. That wasn't in the original scope of the project, right? Adam, I'm sure that happens all the time. I'm speaking your language. So that's another good thing for a contract, is to lay out the expectations and the deliverables so that you're both clear on exactly what's going to happen. Right, Adam?
Exactly. And like I said, it's really just protecting you both. Because if you don't sign that contract, like you read, John, that some people can easily get burned. And it's like, well, if you didn't sign a contract, then what is binding them on delivering the product? Because you didn't agree to anything. There's nothing in writing. So it's just protecting yourself.
You also mentioned, depending on the size of agency that you engage, the pricing can be different. I think it's important for business owners like us, small business owners, to kind of understand more or less what kind of range should they kind of prepare themselves for? Should they look to budget when engaging a professional to help them build with their website? I know it can vary, I'm sure.
Yes. He said when I asked him what his most common questions were, he said that was the number one. How much is it going to cost? Let's go on a quick break, and then we'll get into that when we get back.
Awesome.
The 5 things that you can do to get business for $0. These are some marketing tips just for you.
I need more income.
I need more customers.
I'm just getting started. I've been in business for a while and I need fresh ideas.
People just don't know about my business.
I don't know what to do.
If you are a business owner on a budget and any of these questions have crossed your mind, we've got 5 things that you can do to bring in more business without spending a penny. Plus, you can hold yourself accountable with a free printout included with the video. It's time to get off the sidelines and take some action. Check out this free video today.
We're back.
Hey, guys.
We were just getting into with Adam about pricing your website. So Adam, what can businesses expect to pay for a website?
Well, as you might know, it's a loaded question, right? It's not like, hey, 10 to $50 and there you have it, right? It really depends on the scope of the website that you're asking for. Because if you just have a 5-page, what we call a brochure website, right, where it's a basic, just explaining about you, your services, a contact page, the essentials, versus a full-blown e-commerce store with 500 products, shipping, inventory, you got this full-blown store. Those are 2 different, scales here. So I would say it most definitely, you could find someone who can build you a website for $1,000, right? And they're going to be more of a beginner, someone who maybe doesn't have quite as much experience. But you can also, on an agency scale, you can get up into $25,000 or higher, right? And that's probably for most businesses, especially if you're starting out, that's excessive and not really something, you're not at that point yet. Hopefully one day, right? That'd be great, because that means you've really grown and scaled your business that you can afford and need a website of that nature. So if I had to give a ballpark number for someone to budget for and getting a professional website done, I would say between $2,000 to $5,000 is probably a good general range in order to get a real quality product and a website that's going to deliver for you. Like I said, speak your brand, cater to your audience, and be well organized and laid out.
And again, it's an investment in your business. It's not I think that the issue that business owners have, especially small business owners, is it's looked at as an expense, something that they're not going to get back. But if you get the right partnership with a professional website developer that builds the website based on your marketing plan, because you've been following our podcast from beginning to now, then you're going to have a website that's going to draw traffic to you and, in essence, increase sales. So you want to look at that because it's going to pay for itself. And so it's thinking about how long should the website be before it pays for itself. Those kinds of thought processes, what you should be having, not the dollar amount of the website when thinking about how to budget for that.
Right.
How can you use your website as a tool to bring in more income? I think a lot of people also think of a website as just like something that businesses have to have so that you can be found online, but your website, in all reality, depending on your business model, typically should be way more than that.
Right.
Right. Because think about it. Wouldn't it be great to wake up in the morning and you have 3 new leads in your inbox? That's the goal. That's the plan. That's what your website should be helping do for you, is bring in those customers. So you have to look at the potential of what it could be bringing in for you while you're sleeping.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, Adam, I know you have to go. We appreciate you so much, but before you go, anything else that you want to add? Like, what are some more frequently asked questions that you feel like you can touch on really quick?
I would say, probably turnaround time would be one of them. People always ask, how long is it going to take? Again, you can have a brochure site in a big store, that could take several months. But on average, I would say a turnaround to expect for a professional website to be built, usually within 4 to 6 weeks or so. So kind of gauge that. Everybody's different. So I wouldn't say when you're looking for a designer, if they aren't within those 4 to 6 weeks, that they're a no-go. Everyone's process is different. I would just, like I said, interview the designer, figure out what is their process. They should be able to explain that to you, help guide you through it, and be a good communicator and help keep you in the loop along the way. So you never want to just sign a deposit day one and not hear anything until your website is ready. Making sure they're keeping you informed and what's going on every step.
That's one of the things that I like about working with you the most, I think, is that whenever we work together, you have your own little back end thing that's like, this is where we are. All of the communication goes through here. And so anytime I can open up Adam's little back end area and see what he needs from me, where we are, and find any information that I need.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you do what you say you should be looking for. So
That's good.
Man of your word.
Yeah.
So Adam, before you leave, thank you for today. I have to say you dropped some gems, and I hope people were taking notes. Now, I know you mentioned it in the beginning, but how can someone get in contact with you if they wanted to take advantage of your services?
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. So you can find me online. My website is adamwrightdesign.com. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. And I recently started a YouTube channel. So I'm doing some videos on a couple videos a month, doing some advice, some tutorials, just kind of sharing some of my knowledge there as well.
Love it. And his information will be in the show notes as well. So if you didn't get a chance to write it down, it's in the show notes for you to just click and it'll take you right there. This was a good week.
It was. Yeah. Thank you so much, Adam, for just being amazing. John and I would have never been able to go over all that by ourselves. And you're our first guest ever on the podcast. How fun is that?
Yes. You go down in history, sir.
Yes.
Yes. No, I appreciate it, you guys. It's been fun.
Yes. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you next week as we go over. What do we go over next week? Ordering your business cards, creating social media, and attending networking events. So now we're like we've got all the pieces together. Now we're going to just get it out there.
Execution time.
Yes. All right.
This is great. Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Thank you, Adam, again. As always, it's a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, guys.